não tem problema, amigo, eu não tenho problema, amigo.
Oh, don't pee, man. Sorry.
Move back. Out the way, bro. Out the way. You're gonna get knocked down. Move.
I mean, it's really important for us to remember our history. Unless you're one of the first Americans, a Native American, you came from someplace else. Somebody brought you. The Irish, who left behind a land of famine. The Germans, who fled persecution. The Scandinavians, who arrived eager to pioneer out west. The Polish, the Russians, the Italians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the West Indians, the huddled masses who came through Ellis Island on one coast and Angel Island on the other. All those folks, before they were us, they were them.
This is Trump's first wife, Ivana. She was born in Czechoslovakia and wanted a better life. So she first married an Austrian in a sham marriage to obtain Austrian citizenship. Divorced that guy remotely, then came to the U.S. in 1976, married Trump, and became a citizen 12 years after she arrived. This is Trump's mother. Born in Scotland, she wanted a better life too. She boarded a boat and immigrated to the U.S. in 1930, worked as a, quote, domestic servant for 4 years, and also became a citizen 12 years after arriving here. This is Trump's third wife. As a child, Melania was born in Yugoslavia, came to the U.S. on a travel visa, but broke the law immediately by working here. 4 years later, somehow, she gets fast-tracked, and get this, gets an Einstein or genius visa and becomes a U.S. citizen 10 years after arriving. This is Trump's grandfather, who came to the U.S. from Germany to start a better life, breaking a Bavarian law, by the way, and eventually opened a restaurant and brothel in the U.S., breaking another U.S. law. This year is one of more than 100,000 immigrants that Trump has arrested because he, too, wanted a better life, just like members of the Trump clan. If Trump seriously wants to deport every immigrant who has come here and broken the law, he doesn't have to look very far. Do you know what I mean?
Don't Americans have the right to fall in love? To marry somebody born in another country? To build a life together? Why are we moving toward a system where American citizens are going to have to leave the United States and live overseas just to stay with their spouse, just to start a family with their husband or wife? Right now, spouses from more than 75 countries are already barred from coming to America. That's half the world. And now the people already here have to be separated too? That's what Trump's new memo says. You can't adjust your status here unless it's extraordinary circumstances if you marry a U.S. citizen. What is America becoming? Look, secure the border, deport violent criminals. Nobody can argue with that. But stop treating love, marriage, and family like they're some kind of fraud by default. Because the United States was built by immigrants, including the Trump family. So wake up, Congress. Wake up, America. America needs immigration laws that are strong, fair, realistic, and humane. Not just for immigrants, but for Americans and American families too.
The biggest myth in American politics is that undocumented immigrants cost this country money, that they drain this country of money. Well, it's absolutely not true. They pay billions in taxes every year, and they don't even get to use those benefits. They're literally subsidizing us. Over the last 30 years, undocumented immigrants have created a $14.5 trillion surplus, and that's coming from the Cato Institute, which is a libertarian organization, i.e. right-wing. And what that means is that immigrants are paying far more into our system than they are able to take out of the tax system. Undocumented immigrants, the group that we are led to believe are freeloaders, in 2022 alone, they paid $97 billion into the U.S. tax system. Over $25 billion just in Social Security tax alone. Because if you hire somebody who is undocumented, you still have to pay payroll taxes. The employer still has to pay payroll taxes. And that's not counting the billions they pay into Medicare, the billions they pay in state and income tax, the billions that they pay in sales tax every time they go and buy something in a US store, which is the most visible. You know, most people can see, oh yeah, that does make sense. But a lot of people don't realize that they're also paying into the Social Security system, that our companies are paying in on their behalf. And they can't access any of those benefits. They are not eligible to get Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security. They're not eligible for any of that. They're paying in $97 billion a year that supplements Americans. And we need that money for our Social Security because we know every year they say we're about to run out of money. We need that money. You need to have a whole base of people paying into that system. Because we know anybody making over $197,000 or making over $187,000 doesn't have to pay into it. Now let's talk about what it costs us to deport them.
Mr. President, undocumented immigrants,
we actually do have time for that.
they're not eligible for the health care subsidies that Democrats are demanding. So can you clarify, what are you talking about when you say Democrats want to protect their health care?
So when an illegal person comes in, a person who came into our country illegally, therefore breaking the law, and look, we all have big hearts. I have a bigger heart than you do. They're all breaking the law, and they're coming into our country. And we just, as a country, cannot afford to take care of millions of people who have broken the law coming in. We want them to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. Now we have a strong border, very strong border, thanks to Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group. They've done an amazing job at the border. I mean, we had a border that was reckless. We had a border that was a disaster. They were coming in by the millions. I say 25 million people. You're saying less, but I say 25 million people came in illegally. And no system can take care of the health care of all of those people that came in.
It's just been harder and harder and harder to find those people to work.
Bethany Gotts owns Quay's Farm in Mountain Home, but now with fewer workers, a lot of the manual labor is left up to her. She tells me she's tried hiring locally, but it's been difficult to find people willing to do the hard work.
Finding a legal American here that is going to work as hard as an immigrant is nearly impossible.
She even posted job openings on Facebook.
I had 7 people contact me about it, and when I sent them the description, I had no people respond.
She says hiring undocumented workers is not an option, with serious risks for both sides.
One, you're going to get fined. You have unfortunately, an employee living in fear. They could get picked up at any moment, and then you're without an employee.
To keep her farm running, Gotts is hiring high schoolers and is now looking into the federal H-2A visa program.
I have endeavored to spend $200,000 to build a small worker housing so that I can get H-2 workers next year.
Gotts hopes for long-term solutions that support both farmers and workers.
The misnomer that farmers exploit immigrants is just so sad to me because, like I said, my friends and neighbors, we love our workers. They're our family. And they want to work, and they will work hard, and there needs to be a path for these people in our country because our government has failed them. And it is failing, I feel, the farmers.
No one has ever looked across the plains of Texas and the football games and all the amazing cowboy culture and the raw American spirit here and said, let's replace this with Muslims. Let's replace this with Hindus. Texas should remain for Texans. Have you lost your mind selling your children's future? It is a replacement. It is not right. Just because it's happening to white people does not make it okay. You guys are complicit. This is the jellyfish generation. Half boomer, half Gen X. You don't care about my children's children. You are selling out this country to people who do not want to live near you. They want to build their own separate, segregated zones where they practice their religion, their food, their way of dress, their language. They don't care about white culture. They don't care about American culture. They don't like you. They will replace you. What the fuck is wrong with you, inviting these people into our country? This is a Christian country. Name one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence that's a Hindu or Muslim. Thank you.
Why did you come to America? That's what I was asked. And I replied, the same reason Europeans left Europe and traveled to America. The only difference is I didn't come to America to steal, loot, rape, kill, slaughter, and pillage. Okay? I came here to exchange labor and knowledge so I can get paid. How is it you have a problem with me and not have a problem with the people who stole land from Native American Indians. How? You don't have a problem with the folks who enslave black people in America. Beat, rape, burn, loot, shoot, and all this other type of bullshit. But at the same time, you have a problem with me. Let me tell you something. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
When someone tells me that I don't belong here, I smile, because as a legal immigrant, I probably love this country more than you do. I didn't get America by accident, I chose it. While most of Americans are born in this place, I worked hard to be here. I followed the law when it was hard, expensive, and stressful, and that means that I respect the system, not just the benefits. I also know what life looks without American freedoms, which makes me extremely grateful. And I don't take the rights for granted. I earned my seat at the table. So when I defend America, it's not because I was born here, it's because I fought to be here.
The Trump administration is making it much harder for immigrants already here in the U.S. to get a green card, expanding its campaign to sharply limit legal immigration. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced it will be eliminating the option for many immigrants seeking a green card to complete that process without having to leave the U.S. Now, in most cases, immigrants will be required to return to their home countries in order to apply for a green card or permanent U.S. residency through an American consulate overseas. Current and former U.S. immigration officials tell CBS News the policy will likely have wide-ranging implications, forcing groups like students, tourists, and other temporary visa holders, as well as people who enter the country legally but overstay their visas, to leave the U.S. before trying to obtain a green card. And that would include immigrants who are being sponsored by American employers and companies, or U.S. citizen relatives, including their spouses. For many, going back home could make it difficult or even impossible for them to return to the U.S., given the travel and visa restrictions the Trump administration has imposed on dozens of countries.
Stop thinking you can be successful here in America as an immigrant. 5 years ago, I moved out from a third world country called the Philippines. I didn't come from a rich family because I have to take the bus, the train, the jeep, and the tricycles. And if you have been to the Philippines, you know how bad transportation is. That is one of my motivation to move to the US for the greener pasture. But wait. When I arrived here, I have witnessed people here living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debts, unable to pay their bills, and that shocked me as an immigrant. I have the expectation that people knew better here. But one thing is for sure, I didn't want to live that kind of life. I am here to take advantage of all the resources and opportunities that are available. And that's why in 5 years, I was able to leave my 9-to-5 job, purchase my house, pay off my car, and start multiple businesses here because I don't want to be broke. I don't like the idea of waiting till 65 to be able to enjoy your life. I realized that it's not your past history, your diploma that will make you successful, but the daily action you take to get there. My story is not to brag, but to inspire you that if a single mom was able to do this, the more you can do this as well. Having known the skills to make money online has completely changed my life, and I want you to experience the same. If you are ready to level up your life here in the US, give me a follow and get to learn my strategies on how I was able to achieve my true American dream on top of my page. See you on my next video.
Excuse me, sir. Do you work here? Do you work here?
What?
Do you work here?
I'm not work, I'm a missionary.
You're a missionary. So I see you moving these pallets. Do you have a work permit, sir? Do you have a green card?
What? I'm not working.
Yeah,
I'm just helping out. I'm a missionary.
Sir? Oh. Sir?
What if every immigrant suddenly left the United States? That's 45 million people. 13% of the entire population gone overnight. Sounds dramatic? It gets worse. The hospitality industry collapsed. Your local grocery store? Shelves empty. Because over 70% of America's farm workers are immigrants. Need a doctor? Good luck. More than 25% of our physicians and 15% of our nurses come from abroad. That's millions of patients suddenly without care. Silicon Valley, a ghost town. Over 70% of tech workers are immigrants. The apps you use, the websites you love, the innovations you depend on, gone. Construction? Frozen. 1 in 3 workers building America came here from somewhere else. Meanwhile, our population is aging and our workforce shrinking. Without immigration, the system breaks. Immigrants aren't just part of the U.S., they keep it running. So, could America survive without them? Drop your thoughts below. Share this if someone you know still doubts their impact. And if you believe in a strong, united America, hit that like button.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling. And before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled. But there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled and it was tough. But you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour. And I can afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making 6-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are 1-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy and then everybody else is just poor. Like, that's what is happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had. Right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot in the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age, on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it.
Y'all see this? This is the reason why Dems change. They're not caping for immigrants no more because Donald Trump is out here closing loopholes and they know this is like a losing battle. So this is what changed for the, people seeking green cards or permanent residency. So according to new directives issued by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, migrants currently in the U.S. on temporary visa who wish to become lawful permanent residents will generally be required to return to their home countries to complete the process. Under the policy, applicants will undergo screening procedures and obtain immigrant visas through the U.S. Department of State abroad, meaning they have to return to their own country before re-entering America as permanent residents. USCIS stated that only individuals facing extraordinary circumstances. And here's the part. He's out here defining the law, defining what it's supposed to be, these policies. Under President Trump, USCIS is returning to the original intent of the law and reinforcing the proper distinction between temporary admission and permanent residence. Aliens who come to the United States temporarily and later seek permanent residency should pursue an immigrant visa through the proper channels in their home countries before being admitted as immigrants. So they used to just come over here on a temporary visa and then like, hey, I want to become a U.S. citizen now, and they'll seek that process while being in the United States instead of the proper channels that they supposed to have been in their country before they even came over here to seek permanent residency. So yeah, if you notice the shift and the pandering and the caping, this is the reason why, because this is basically a losing battle. Donald Trump is out here defining the law how it should, what it was meant for.